up on YouTube. Thank you everyone for joining us on this brisk morning in Sydney on the 30th of July for our 60th session. Unbelievable. So we'll kick on. We've got a lot on. We're just waiting for our speaker to join us this morning, but we've got a lot to cover before we jump into that topic. There's a lot going on in the space of the outdoors, but firstly, may I pay my respects to our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander colleagues, past leaders, present leaders and emerging leaders, and may that we work with them in the best way to interpret the lands in which we work and impart the knowledge into future generations long into the future. World Ranger Day tomorrow. So if you didn't know this, World Ranger Day is a day that we recognise all those people that are out caring, protecting, interpreting our natural settings for visitors into various areas. And can I extend a warm welcome to our Ku-ring-gai Council members and the rangers there, even though they can't be out in field right now. Our thoughts are with them and hope that they get back to work very soon so that they can continue their awesome work. But for all rangers, whether you be in the national parks or Sydney Olympic Park or council areas, thank you for what you do on World Ranger Day tomorrow. I was privileged to be part of a Commonwealth Bank update on the economic outlook, so I thought it was good that I bring some of that finding to you guys today. No doubt none of this is a real big surprise for you, but I thought it was useful to share with you. We all know that we can't have our international workers. We're one of those industries that have relied on our working holiday visas quite heavily. And obviously, as a result, our unemployment in this country has certainly declined, which is great. We're getting Australians into jobs, but as we all know, particularly in the outdoors, that we are struggling at getting a lot of our positions filled. A big challenge for all of us, and particularly as we come out of lockdown, when we expect the boom to come back and demand for our services back, trying to get our people into those jobs so that we can provide our services is going to be certainly a challenge. The other thing they looked at is obviously the underemployment rate and the labour force, which you can see very clearly from this latest lockdown, how that has impacted those areas. The interesting area which I thought I'd highlight today relates a lot to our adventure tourism operators and those that cater for visitors to their facilities. Needless to say, when we're on lockdown, we have low spending. And what COVID last year taught us is that we rebounded with exceptional ability when it came to spending, and even more so above what the rates were before the COVID lockdown. So all the economists are predicting that it's going to be a very similar circumstance as we come out of this lockdown. So a great eye on the horizon for those that do look at visitors. We can use this as an indication of potentially that returning, and making sure that you get your product into that mindset to get them to partake in what you have on offer. The indication from the economists is that the interest rates are not going to rise now until May 2023. Good for those homeowners with mortgages, not so good for those self-funded retirees, and interest rates and market conditions, of course. The other factor which they highlighted is the impact on the Australian economy in this current lockdown with Sydney. And needless to say, we have a proportion of the GDP for the Australian economy. So they're watching with interest the impact on the overall economy with this current lockdown. Obviously too early to tell in a lot of areas, but it was an interesting stat there. So let me reflect on where we're at right now, and I'm sure you're all sick of turning on the news at the moment, but the 8 LG areas are the ones that are hotspots in Sydney right now, and they have further restrictions. So the 5 kilometre radius, restricted activities. Other than the other greater Sydney areas, we still in lockdown till the 28th of August, but we don't have the similar restrictions on movement, but we still have to look at staying at home unless it's completely necessary. The orange restrictions are now released, so that's the only regional New South Wales area that had a lockdown. It is now been released, and lucky to say that there's no more cases that are currently in those areas. Government schools, however, still cannot camp in regional New South Wales. So if you have a regional New South Wales school, government school, they have been told that they cannot camp in regional New South Wales as well. They're on tier 2 of a tier 4 program. Tier 2 at the moment stipulates that there's no overnight excursions. They can certainly do outdoor education within their own LGA, but any overnights outside their LGA, they have been informed that they cannot do those activities. Needless to say, we're working very hard in trying to change that. We are working with the Department of Education on trying to see the lessened risk in this area and let them see that this is an opportunity that we can start rebounding and getting our kids back into outdoor education, which we all know that they desperately need right now. So watch this space. We'll update you as soon as we hear anything, but I just wanted to assure you that we are doing as much as we can to try to get their consideration on this topic. The staff support, so this is the disaster payment. You might have heard last week that this has been increased. So not for the first and second weeks, that's still stayed at the $500 level for over 20 hours. But now from the third week on, it's up to equivalent of JobKeeper. So here's those dreaded words that we've been asking for. Basically, the government has turned around and up to 750 750 per week, which was 1,500 per fortnight with JobKeeper. It's exactly the same. So they are encouraging everyone who has lost hours or been stood down or in negotiation with their employer by taking leave without pay, that you can apply for this disaster payment. Now, I'll highlight that last one because I spoke with the Australian business lawyers yesterday and just clarified that under your particular awards, you have to obviously abide by that you can enter into negotiation with your staff to stand down at no pay, and they are eligible for this disaster payment. You then can still apply for the JobSaver, which I'll go through in a little while. ACT support has not changed. It still remains at the small tourism operator recovery payment, and this is up to the $15,000 amount. You might remember last week I spoke about some of the negotiations that we've been involved in to help some of our guys get access to funding that couldn't comply with this criteria. So great news there, and we've managed to be part of that assistance process. So again, if you're in the ACT and you find that you cannot get access to some of these funds, contact us and let us know your circumstances so we can help. Vic, we have a few Vic members, so I'm starting to build in some Victorian content into here. And for the Victorians, you know that there's a small business COVID hardship fund and also the Alpine Business Support Program. So both of these funds currently available, and I believe payments have started to roll out for both of those. So if you've got any questions there, make sure you shoot it through and we'll assist. The New South Wales Business Grants. So this was the up to $15,000 payment, which is now open for applications, and this is for a decline of 30% or more. So if you have a payroll of up to 10 million, you can apply through this one. The JobSaver has had the cap increase, which I'll cover in a second. So that's the difference between the two, but certainly for small businesses, if you've had more than 30% decline or a 30% decline in your business due to this lockdown, get in and apply. The application process online is relatively easy, so just make sure you get in there and get it done. JobSaver, so you can apply for both the grant and the JobSaver if you are a business that has been affected. And the JobSaver cap, it was $10,000 a week, is now $100,000 a week. So for those larger organisations that have a huge payroll, this is great news, and hopefully this will support some of your costs associated with keeping your business going. Your staff can still apply for the disaster payment through the federal government, and you can apply for this, and it doesn't necessarily have to go to payroll costs. The 40% of payroll is what they evaluate it as, and that money can go towards any on costs or costs associated with your business that you cannot cover under any other grant scheme. I'll just point out that link down the bottom. That's what I was supplied by the Australian Business Lawyers yesterday to direct in helping when you're working with your staff in a period of lockdown, what options you have available to you. And again, refer to your relevant award for a bit more clarity in that area. The Micro Business Award. So these are the non-employment ones. Certainly these are available for smaller businesses and $1,500 a fortnight. Might answer your query now, Paul. One thought with the disaster relief payment is it's unclear about whether it attracts income tax. It actually does. All of the payments, JobKeeper and also the disaster relief payment are all taxable. So that is something that certainly not many people know, but your accountant will help you with that. So yes, it is taxable. Accommodation providers, for those that have had cancellations due to this lockdown, there is a one-off payment depending on how many room nights were cancelled. All you have to do is supply the cancellation notice or the evidence of those cancellations, and you are available for those one-off payments. And there's a whole lot of other things that are available for businesses. So talk to your accountant. There's the payroll tax deferrals, payroll tax concessions, which have all come back into place. Your tenants in commercial retail premises as well. And maybe, since we're in lockdown till the 28th of August, we're all hoping the Dine and Discover might be a really good thing to extend a little bit further, but we'll see. Hopefully there'll be some news on that very soon. And the next one was the Fair Work Reminder. So this came in March, and in talking to some of you on our one-on-ones, I've realised some of you haven't put this into place yet. So please, if you haven't, you need to ensure that every casual employee you have has a casual employment information statement. This is now required by the business, and it's looking at that area we touched on a few weeks ago about what is a casual, what is a part-time employee. So if you've got any concerns here, any questions relating to this, please let me know and I'll help guide you on it. But yeah, it's just a friendly reminder. If you haven't got these in place yet, please do so. Larger businesses did have until the 27th of September this year to implement them, but certainly the smaller businesses should have had this in place from now. Sad news, but inevitable. Unfortunately, we've had to postpone our National Outdoor Education Conference this year. We want to make sure everyone's safe, everyone can get home without quarantining for 14 days. So we have delayed this until September 2022. But the good news is that everyone that was paid to attend this event up until the 25th of July will now have access free of charge to a virtual online event on the same date, which was the 29th of September, to an event there. So we will extend that offer out at a small paid ticket level, but for anyone that had a ticket to the National Outdoor Education Conference, you'll gain access to that for absolutely no cost. So we look forward to at least building some virtual connection online, delivering you some of that content that was really valid for this year, and certainly come together in some way on the 29th of September this year in preparation for the 26th of September next year. The Youth Resilience Program is underway. Bronwyn, I think it might be joining us today, but she is certainly well on track with getting this program up and running. So this is a call for all operators that may be located on the north coast of New South Wales, Greater Sydney area, Hunter, Blue Mountains and Lithgow. If you provide an activity, a program that can cater for years 7 to 12 in a period of a 90-minute session after school hours, I urge you to email Bronwyn, and that's the email address there, programs@outdoorsnswact.com.au. Let her know of the activity that you can provide and how it could be tailored for this program, or just what you offer right now, because we're starting to build a bit of a database on who can be involved in this program, and then we'll aim to fill the gaps from now. And keep in mind that this is open to all members of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. Any questions, please let us know. NESA Curriculum Review. Monday, D-Day, for K-12 maths and English syllabus will be out for a consultation period. I urge anyone that does nature play in the space to please jump in and comment on this draft syllabus. We need to ensure we're still building in outdoor education in this curriculum. But the other thing I wanted to highlight is that the government, the NESA, have now approved 7 programs for years 7 to 12 from 200. So you might remember that there was an announcement about 200 odd programs that were being delivered, school-based programs, school-endorsed programs, and NESA wanted to remove pretty much all of them down to a smaller list that were approved by NESA to run. Thankfully, they realised outdoor education is a vital area. So we have been marked as one of those 7 approved programs, which is great. So I urge you to look at the online information there. The curriculum is still yet to be developed and will be in place for schools to use in 2023. So this is a crucial period that we want to work with the Department of Education and NESA to provide the best tools they can for the schools in delivering outdoor education. AGM, so back to a corporate level. So Outdoors New South Wales ACT is about to have its my second AGM is about to have an AGM on the 27th of September 2021. It will be virtual, of course, and it will be at 7 o'clock at night online. An RSVP will go out very soon to all the members in attendance, but the major thing I'm asking now is a call for board members. As we do every year, we circulate about half of our board members, and we get further nominations for that. And we're also moving towards a skill-based board. So we're calling for applicants that may have legal and governance skills, financial skills, marketing comm skills, and strategic planning skills as we take this organisation to another level. So if you are interested in being part of our board, or know of someone that is interested, please pass on that link there. We have a prize that's been offered to get some more feedback on our climate change survey. So again, we're just plugging this survey to make sure that we get a real good understanding of what's happening in the marketplace, in the outdoors right now in relation to climate change. Thanks to Take 3 for the Sea, they've come up with an amazing prize pack there. You get the lot, we're not divvying it up. So if you enter into that survey and put your details into there, you'll be in the running to get this amazing prize pack. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, please complete the survey. Tell us what you're doing in the way of climate change. It's really important for this subcommittee so that they can get an understanding of how they can help you in providing tools, resources and information to make a difference in this space. We've got a jam-packed Connect and Share coming up. So we've got 6th of August, working holiday, skilled work visas. We have a visa agent coming to talk to you and answer your questions in relation to what you can do now and what we can look like doing in the future. So for all those that have lost their international workers, this is a must. Attend next Friday. 13th of August, what can you claim on tax? If you're an outdoor worker, outdoor leader, what can you actually claim? That's on the 13th of August. And then the 20th of August, which was a rescheduled one from today, is the single touch payroll stage 2, just understanding a little bit more about that. But today we're going to talk a little bit on grants, and I'm going to introduce you to Therese in just a second. I thought it was a great opportunity to throw one of the grants that's out there at the moment that is perfect for our industry, and that's through the youth opportunities. If you are one that does work in the youth space, There is up to $50,000 available for some programs that help develop youth. And this is a great one in partnering with not-for-profits, it's partnering with activity providers and making a real difference in the lives of youth. So it's due on the 6th of September. But yes, here's a great example of jumping in and applying for a grant when we have Therese O'Dywer, who I'm pleased to have with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Therese. Therese is from RDA Sydney, and I might get her to explain a little bit about RDA because I'm not too sure if some of you have had any interaction with Regional Development Australia, but I'll hand over to Therese.
Thanks, Laurie. Hello, everyone. So I'm the Executive Officer of RDA Sydney, and we're part of a national network of organisations that receive funding from the federal government to deliver economic outcomes for our regions. The role of RDA Sydney is really to support the New South Wales network of RDAs and hopefully connect capital city stakeholders to the regions. And so it's a fairly broad remit, to say the least. So we really try and provide expertise to the regions that they may not have access to. So one of the things that we're doing is that we're delivering 2 webinars about grant writing. One is on low value grants, and we're doing it in partnership with an organisation called AEC Group and another organisation called Economic Development Australia. So we're basically, you'll get some information about the principles and practicalities of grant writing at the lower end of the value chain, and also about the data that you may need to access to support your argument in a grant application. The second one, which is on the 25th of August, is more about the higher value types of grants, and then it goes into things like input, output modelling and business case scenarios and things like that. So you're most welcome to register if you want. I will put the link in the chat so that you've got it there. And I thought, I was looking around and I thought, I'm very new to the association, but I thought there's a grant that's out at the moment, which is the Regional Tourism Activation Fund. And I thought that would be one that possibly the members would have an interest in, and perhaps you've already spoken about it and flagged it with them, but I just thought that was one that
flag again. They own, yeah. I talk a lot, so I think they can 10% sometimes.
I just thought, because it does pay for infrastructure and upgrades. So, and I know this is a very hard time for the members, but I just think this downtime, you might be able to leverage this funding to kind of, build capability and whatever. I won't say any more. Is that enough, Laurie, or is it?
I'll open it up for questions because, Therese, I know your experience is really high in this area, and I think just some simple tips maybe if you're just, obviously I don't want to go into the content that you're sharing in the webinar, but just simple tips that you think these guys might need when addressing a grant for the first time. Is there anything that they should be considering first off?
I think if you really, I think you need to know what it is you're after and then find the grant that might fit with what you want to do, rather than trying to mould what you're doing into a grant, which, all of us, we're a not-for-profit. We do it sometimes. We think, how can we fit this circle into this square, but it really, you kind of have to be patient in some cases. The other thing is to substantiate what you're saying. If you say that, you're going to engage a cohort of young people, 50 young people, but you've got no history of connection to those that are connected with young people, then you really have to kind of say, well, how are you going to do that? You know, like you've got no relationships in relation to that. So I would sell my relationships really strongly. And I'd also, you know, be clear about what it really costs rather than try and, I suppose, diminish the cost of something. I think a lot of programs become untenable, you know, they can't survive because the budget's really not enough for what they need to do. So sometimes that kind of puts you out of the league for a particular program, or you cut back what your expectations are of what you're going to do. But I think you need to be realistic, and I think you need to be prepared. Like, get all like, it doesn't matter if it's a large grant or it's a small grant. They'll always ask you for the last 3 years financials. They'll always ask you for, you know, a profile. In our case, they ask for a profile of our board members or those that have the authority to make decisions. You know, any of that sort of stuff, just have it up to date, so you're not kind of trying to find that information at the last minute. And I think getting letters of support from those that are connected with your target group, saying, yeah, this is a great idea, yes, this is a gap, and it's not duplication of what already exists, I think supports what you're doing. And in that way, and I think you need to be clear about the timeframes that you're looking at. So you have a project plan, it'll change, it always does, but you kind of think, well, I think this is how it's going to happen, and this is who I'm going to connect with along the way. And you demonstrate that to the funding body, and it looks like you've thought about it, which I think is important as well. Yeah,
for sure. I'm glad you mentioned the tourism grant, because I think that's one of the ones that highlights some of the challenges that our sector particularly has, in that it's only available for incorporated bodies. So what would be your advice if, say, for example, a business could really see the opportunity of developing some infrastructure with this grant, but they are a corporation?
Could they go in partnership with a lead agency, like, you know, like an RDA in their local area? Look, we want to do this, we're not eligible, we're allowed to be a partner. Can you actually be the applicant in this case, and you subcontract us to do, or contract us to do most of this?
Amazing.
So if you want to do it in that regard, sometimes it depends. I mean, it depends on the project and what are the priorities in the regions. But, you know, if there's some opportunity for that partnership to happen, that's one way of doing it.
Brilliant.
I think, that's normally how, like, there's a program out which is called the National Priority Fund, which is around employment. It's through the Department of Employment. And in that case, what we're doing, because we're looking at that fund and thinking, well, maybe we could apply for some money, but we're partnering with some people in that, or organisations that aren't eligible but are the key to delivering the program, because we can't do it without them. So so you can do it in that way, when you can kind of get an eligible organisation to kind of host the project, and you're doing and receiving the majority of the money, basically.
Great information there, because I think that's been the challenge with a lot of these guys. And I can see what I can do with this fund, but I've got nobody that I'm working with that is eligible. So knowing that RDA support that. The other thing I was going to ask you is, often when I'm working with a lot of the businesses or members that we have, is I say, have a list of things that you'd like to get done, even though you haven't got the funds or the time, in most sense. And that way it tends to be what you're saying is that preparation tool for thinking about those projects. Is that something that, you'd certainly recommend?
I mean, you've got a vision for whatever you're doing, and you've got a list of things, and it mightn't be well thought out, the list, but it's kind of like, I really need this, I can't do any more around that. What you have to also think about, especially if it comes down to infrastructure and things like that, is what else do I need? Because they're like a DA and all those sorts of barriers sometimes. It's trying to nurture a relationship with the local government if that's needed, so that they're kind of on board already with how you're thinking.
Yes.
Like that. I mean, we deal with, say, Far West, that would like some adventure, more adventure kind of activities, but again, it's all about, well, what's allowable in the space that they've got. And so
I've got a big question which I often get asked, and I'd love your feedback on it. It's not probably an easy one, but a lot of them ask for financials, co-contributions, but they don't allow in kind to be evaluated. How do you value in kind? And what's your formula or thought process around how people can value the in kind contribution to some of these grants?
Well, I normally, because we're not a wealthy organisation either, so we don't have a spare $10,000 to kind of partner with a grant application. So we normally value our hourly rate, and we've got a set hourly rate that we think, well, we're worth this much. We also sometimes you can value your IP as well, what value your expertise has, which isn't available, and you can put a price to that as well. And I suppose the other thing is just the use of a facility as such. So it's the cost that you bear by using that facility. And you put that as an in-kind contribution to the project. So for us, we're really not in an office, but if we were, it would be part of our rental costs. It would be part of our electricity, the utilities and all that sort of stuff. And we would say, well, this project is going to draw on that. We've still got to pay that bill. And so we're contributing this to the project.
Yeah, because I often find that if you're saying if you're not going to run this program and it has to be done in another space, what would that cost be?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Comparison, I think, is really a good way to do it. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Any other thoughts for any budding grant entrants out there? I put the link to your website in the chat there. Feel free to throw any other content in there that you think would be of benefit.
Yeah, I'm just going to put in the link to that other grant that I talked about, because I've got it up ready to go. I'll just copy it off, and
I've overloaded them with the government financial grants. And also, just everyone, Leslie put in the document in there, which is a great summary of every single one of those grants. So thanks, Leslie, for dropping that in the box as well. That is a great tool if you're making reference to any of those grants to do so. But keep in mind what Therese is talking about is project grants. So these are the ones that we can actually get some stuff done on the ground. Do you want to put in the dates into there, Therese, just for the webinars that you're running?
Yep. So I'll just put it here. The smaller grants one is the 10th of August, and that's in the morning. It starts at 10 a.m. But if you go into our website and you've got the link, go to the bottom of the home page, and that's where all the events stuff is. And you can just flow through into our events page, and it's just there. The second one, so that's a small grant one. The second one is on the 25th of August, and that starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Great, giving people the option of morning or afternoon is great.
There you go. I'll just put it as that.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. And there's the two links there that I've managed to just grab off Therese's website as well. Any other questions for Therese? seeing who's on live. No, you've answered everything that they had to be answered. Bill says thank you. Thank you.
Laurie, I might go if that's all right.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Great to see you again. And no doubt I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, please. Yeah. Thanks. Nice meeting you all.
Yes, thank you. And I don't want to put Joy on the spot, but Joy's going to be our speaker on the 13th. Yes, 13th of August. So, Joy, did you want to just quickly introduce yourself and give us a bit of an update on what you're going to be covering on the 13th of August?
I wasn't prepared for this.
I
was just sitting back slightly. But firstly, thank you. Thank you for Laurie for the invitation, for the opportunity to present. I'm an accountant or tax advisor based in Sydney, Parramatta. So you can see I got a very nice cushion in the back sitting at home. Locked down myself with the homeschooling, with the work, pretty much everything. Oh, so yeah, so but my office is not far away in Parramatta. I have been in this field for say 18 years now as a accountant. In 18 years, so it's been a long time, but always learning progress, always always the text know everything else, and especially this time the grant throw everything, study learning, in a couple of weeks time continuing, educate myself. So it's part of our process as educate ourselves and educate people. So I like to talk on the 13th, pretty much based on my personal experience, how I encounter the question being raised, the question being asked, some common question about the tax deductions, income tax deductions. So I'm to be honest, I'm not quite sure what is my audience.
That's okay. Well, this is a great opportunity. So I just want to say, if anyone has any questions around what they can claim, particular items, you might have a particular question, shoot it through to me and I'll send it to Joy before the 13th and she'll look into it and report back.
It's such a big area. So it could be individual, could be contractor, could be company, could be business. It's a huge business area. And if I can get some idea which area I can focus on, so that'd be great. But so far, I probably focus individual and some common things coming up during the process in terms of tax return. But I'm happy to answer the questions if you have. Yeah. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Joy. And thanks for being such a sport by me putting you on the spot.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Guys, I might ask Leslie to stop the recording now because I wanted to get a feel from you how you're all going and if you have any